Hey, what's going on with scripting, man? We have 1.0 coming out.
And I'm testing mods and it's working. And we were like, oh, hell yeah.
Hello, and welcome back to Blade and Sorcery Discussion with the Baron. It's me, Drifter, here on Downloadable Content, and we are going to be talking a little bit more in depth about the road to 1.0. So say hi, Mr. Baron.
Hello, hello. Good to be back.
Excellent. So I have the very first question for you, and it's actually a surprise I specifically didn't tell you. And no, it's not about multiplayer. Can you guess what it is? Can you guess what
about traps? I'm out of here.
No, it's not about that. But can you guess? I just it's about the story, a particular part of the story. Try and guess what I'm going to ask you. Time's up, Baron. Time is up.
Hit me.
Okay. So specifically in your lore, the official lore, you guys mentioned that magic is illegal. Tell me more about that. Where'd you get that from?
It's just a lore as we wrote it. So the concept being, and I mean, small spoilers, for anyone who wants to actually find the lore in the game. But the concept being that the magic that's sourced from crystals in the world of Biet is corrupting to humans. And so different countries had different takes on it. Eridan, in which the game takes place, took the approach of banning it. And so only like sorcerers and stuff like that of the court would use it. And even then, in moderation. Meanwhile, countries like Rakta just went hell for leather, all in on magic. But, it had a toll on their persons. Now, of course, we don't have Rakta in the game, so this is lore. This is deep lore, this is beyond Blade and Sorcery lore. But anyway, that's where this Dalgarian crystal hunt comes in, because now they've discovered these underground tombs that are ripe with these powerful crystals. So everyone's all in, whether it's they want it for themselves or they want to sanction it, prevent access to it or whatever. That's what they're all rushing to do.
Okay.
And
now,
player
Baron,
is just
Baron, that is a great answer, but it's also the wrong answer, Baron. That's from me. Magic is illegal in my universe. I told you guys about that. I wanted to just try to attempt to be like, that's mine. Give me $1 now.
Yeah.
So the reason I brought you on here is, of course, you have the road to 1.0, and everyone can read it. They can watch my video if they don't want to read it. But there were some things I wanted to explore more with you and maybe ask some questions. So I hope that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the biggest part of this update is obviously Crystal Hunt, the progression mode.
Yeah.
Which is,
definitely.
I think everyone has been excited for years. And I think, can you ease everyone's mind at the start of this video and say, is this for PC and Quest at the same time? Will they release on the same day?
This whole update is for PC VR and Nomad. So yeah, I had the same thing. A bunch of people have been messaging me in a panic asking if this is going to be for Nomad, or asking me, do I need to rebuy the game or something? So no, I can assure every Nomad player this is a free update for Nomad. And the reason it's kind of done this way, by the way, is because Meta does not allow early access games. So technically Nomad is a quote-unquote finished game. But in reality, we always knew we were going to keep updating it to keep in line with the PC. So the only thing I cannot say is the content of the PC VR update and the content for the Nomad update should be one-to-one. However, I won't 100% know that until we do the port, because there's always the fear that there might be some Dalgarian room that lags, and we might either have to adjust it, or worst case, we might have to chop it.
Okay.
But don't worry too much, because even with the outpost, I think there's something like 60 outpost rooms, and about 58 or 59, I forget, of those rooms did port to Nomad. So that's pretty good. You know what I mean?
That's amazing. So
yeah,
I think with that being said, I know there's technically some cut content in Nomad. So in 1.0, just to revisit it, because I know last time you're like, oh, it's almost a no, but will the Citadel be on Nomad for 1.0 release?
No, definitely not.
Okay.
Definitely not.
That's
That's confirmed.
So confirm that, and also I think if everyone doesn't know, also if you've been around a while, you probably know about the Soul spell. Also, that was scrapped like
Correct.
an update and a half ago. So in a 1.0 release, don't expect the Soul spell.
Yeah, and that was true for PC too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But with Citadel, man, we really tried. We tried and tried, optimized the hell out of it, and it was still like where we left off. It was still like 20 frames too bad. And for Nomads, that's just like, ah, get out of here.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
just,
bad.
so yeah, so it wasn't possible. Oh, and sorry, by the way, to finish what you asked, the update for Nomad should release, if not the exact same time, around the same time. But there's always a small possibility of some kind of problem. But
Okay.
it should be like our plan is release it at the same time.
Will 1.0 have a beta opt-in mode, or are you just gonna go like right to it with QA
Right.
and then it's gonna come out and then that's when people can play it?
If it goes the way I want it, I hope it just releases.
Okay.
Because betas, they just drag on and on. They suck all the excitement out of the update because then it's like, well, people have been playing for like 3 months of a buggy version. So when the full version comes out, they're like, oh, yeah, cool. So I hope we have a couple of months, I hope, of QA. And we have a QA team now. And I just hope that there's no need for beta. I just hope it's good. And I hope it just rolls out. And
that is yeah.
Well, so
you know how it goes. You know how game development goes.
Yeah,
Cool.
I know.
So
we'll see.
Let's talk about the Crystal Hunt game mode. Like you said, I think in the post is that this is a separate game mode outside of Sandbox. So if someone's playing the normal one where they go in and they mess about, that's Sandbox mode. And then this one you start a brand new character and take it from there.
Totally.
So
this is the whole update really. It's all about Crystal Hunt.
Okay, so all about Crystal Hunt. So for a couple of moments, can you take me from the start, player logs in, they create their character, tell me about character creation all the way till they completed their first Crystal Hunt raid, go.
It's like, so you start up, you've got Sandbox mode, and you've got Crystal Hunt mode. If you play Sandbox mode, it's exactly as you know it. The only difference is we're working on some way right now to be able to enable the Sandbox player to kind of toggle on and off any like extra skills that a player might unlock in Crystal Hunt. So that's that. Crystal Hunt is you start your character. It's exactly like Sandbox. You make your character just a good old-fashioned way. And then when you start Crystal Hunt mode, you start in a home, but, which I'm not going to spoil, there's a kind of propelling force to get you going through the story. And you'll start as the most basic character. You'll have nothing. No, gravity, lightning, fire, nothing like that. No clothes, no weapons, no anything. So you're going to be super weak. There's a huge possibility of like dying a bunch and stuff like that. And then as you progress through Crystal Hunt, you're doing dungeon runs as you know them. But there'll be loot to find, which is the currency for like weapons and armor. And then there'll be crystal shards to find, which is like the currency for unlocking new skills. And then you'll have the big loot, which is going to be crystal cores. And the concept of these is these would be in Dalgarian runes only. And the concept of these would be you can unlock the tiers of magic. So the more you basically become more powerful through this. And it's what propels the story, so to speak. Getting you to the end of the game. And then we have so many goddamn skills on the skill tree. I think it's something like 70, which is crazy.
Yeah, I think that your skill tree introduction kind of broke my brain. I wasn't expecting that. I don't think anyone was expecting that, as far as I think, because we've talked about this in the past, as far as like the player's not going to just be 2% better with sword swinging because it's you. Like you are the player. So that you didn't want that to feel bad. You wanted a sword to still feel like a sword. So, and I think what you also, you were a brat about in the post is all these skills. You're like, look how cool this magic is. And then you talked a little bit about physical skill and you just did like a punch, and you punch someone into a box, and you're like, okay, so that's one of the body skills, and then that's it.
Yeah, dude, I was actually looking. I was on a meeting with Laneka this morning. He was showing me some of the other body skills he's working on, and I got to have a sneak peek at some of the other ones he's working on. They're also awesome.
Oh my goodness, I can only imagine.
Throwing that out there. So it's basically you've got a variety of magic trees, and then you have body and mind. And there's also crossover between these. So, like, you could progress up the gravity tree, and you could progress up the mind tree, and then there's a skill in between that you could then purchase.
Oh
You
my
know what I mean?
goodness.
Dude, it's nuts. Like, I think I put this in the news. If you took the sandbox character, you take all the stuff that the sandbox character can do, it would account for, I think it was something like 20% of the skill tree. So
Wow.
that's how much new content is coming. It's completely wacky.
Yeah,
Um,
and that
yeah,
is absolutely crazy. And I think one thing also I want to make clear, because it wasn't clear to me because I'm not that smart, but so you said
yeah,
the sandbox character complete. So let's say I start sandbox, I'm
yeah.
like, oh wow, I have a sword and I can cast fireball. In the post, it seemed like that character won't be as powerful as a finished crystal hunted
Yeah,
character. So can the
yeah.
sandbox character get all the? Can they ever be as powerful as a
Yes,
crystal hunter character?
right, exactly. So this is what I was mentioning before about we're figuring this out how we're going to implement it exactly. But let's say you play a sandbox character in 1.0, he's going to be the character exactly as you know him right now. He has like fireball, he can cast meteor, he can cast lightning, all that stuff as you know it. But we want to add all the other skills, right? So there's going to be like what, just 50 extra skills, right?
Yeah.
So we don't just want to put 50 extra skills on top of the sandbox character because you're going to be overwhelmed. There's going to be so much crazy stuff going on. You're not even going to recognize the game. So instead, what we were thinking about doing is maybe in the journal, just having all the skills and you just literally toggle them on and off. So you could just say like, okay, give me everything, give me 50 skills, boom, okay, play them all. Or you might just be like, well, I don't really like this skill, but I do like this skill, and you give yourself that in sandbox. Or
Mm-hmm.
I'll give myself all the fire skills, but I don't necessarily want all the gravity skills or whatever. And that's how it works.
I kind of feel like it's like a almost like a homage to the Dragon Ball universe, where I picture the character like training in sandbox, and then after like 20 minutes of doing like a fireball out of nowhere, a really big fireball comes out, and you're like, "How did I just do that?" And they look in the journal, and they're like, "Oh, that's how I did that."
Well, what the idea with all the skills for Crystal Hunt, where we were going, it's not just content for content's sake. It's more like, in theory, okay, and I say in theory because you're always going to get some madman who will defy this, but in theory, the player is not going to unlock every single skill on the skill tree and finish Crystal Hunt. More than likely, they're going to finish Crystal Hunt way before that. So the concept of all these skills is you will kind of navigate the skill tree path, and you might say to yourself, okay, I got these crystal cores. I can unlock a certain amount of skills. You might say, hey, I want to be like a fire mage.
Mm-hmm.
So you go all in on the fire tree, right down to the end. And by the time you reach the end of the game, you're just this fireball wielding madman, Or you might say, actually, I hate magic. I'm just going to go all body, right the way down the body tree. And you get to the end of the game, you're just like ripping and tearing Doom guy. Or you might say, I want a little bit of everything. So you get the fireball, and you get the gravity push, and a gravity glide, and a little bit of body stuff, a little bit of mind stuff. You're a little bit of everything. You're not a master at anything, but you're a little bit of everything. And then you get to the end of the game, you play. So in this way, that's kind of the idea of the replayability of Crystal Hunt 2, is that you can mix and match. You can try all these different builds. I'll be a gravity mage. I'll be a lightning and fire mage. I'll be just a sword guy, or I'll be an archer, and work your way through the tree that way. Or go into sandbox mode, unlock it all, and just go crazy,
Right.
and mess around. We didn't want to lock any content behind anything, so
Mm-hmm.
we always reserved that kind of option for the player to just say, I don't care.
Right. So with all these skills and playing through Crystal Hunt, like let's say I start, I grab my clothes, I go out, go on the boat, do whatever, open the secret thing, and then I'm in the Dalgarian thing. I beat Crystal Hunt, and there's a defined end to
Yeah.
Crystal Hunt. So when it ends, is it like, okay, start from scratch again after you've got to?
Good question.
Yeah.
So, good question. We're toying with the idea of a new game plus, but not 100% sure. We're not 100% sure how it's going to go. We're also toying with the idea of just letting the player continue after like the credits and just whatever. There's no more story, there's no more anything, but you could technically keep grinding dungeons and unlocking all skills. But I don't know. Like this came up in a meeting we had. Like a little part of me feels like even if there's a new game plus, I'm unsure about if the player should keep all their skills. I don't know. Because I think a little part of the fun of the whole game mode is that you choose your build and
Yeah,
you commit to it, you know? And actually, one of the things we have is you can respec, no problem. There's no penalty to respecing. So you could even try it and be like, you know what, I actually hate being a gravity mage. And then, okay, just respec. And then you put it onto fire. So you can kind of try before you buy, so to
that's
speak.
cool.
I think if the player had like all 70 skills unlocked simultaneously, I think it would be so overwhelming and maybe even a little bit boring because you kind of would be too good at everything that
Right.
your play style would be so weird, you know, that kind of thing. I don't know. We're thinking about it.
Okay. Well, what I wanted to bring up, so it's Blade and Sorcery, right? So, I think I don't know if it was this post or the one prior, or I don't even know if it's now at this point a rumor, but is mana still a thing? And when I say is mana still a thing, is there a cap to mana, like, or do they have unlimited magic?
Okay, this might be breaking news for you.
Oh,
And I didn't put it in the news just because I didn't want to start a debate about it. Because I think people need to try it and then they'll realize they'll like it. Mana has been eliminated from the game. So
oh,
there is no more mana bar. You could cast as many spells as you want. Now, I posted this on Reddit, and some people were shocked, and they were saying, "Well, the game, Magic is going to be so OP. I'm going to be able to go crazy." But hang on, think about it. There's already a natural cap there, which is the time it takes to cast a spell. So you can't just de facto, you can't go around spamming meteors because there's a time limit on it. It's something like 4 or 5 seconds. So you could cast one every 4 or 5 seconds. But if you've leveled up in the skill tree to unlock meteor, go for it. Be that mage. Because you're already such a powerful mage at that point. Like, yeah, cast meteor every 5 seconds. You deserve it, you know? And why we eliminated magic was because there was a UX confusion, which is like, did you ever go to cast, like, say, a gravity bubble, and suddenly it's like, whoa, 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 and it
yes,
doesn't cast? And
yes.
it's just like, God damn. Does anyone enjoy that? Does anyone enjoy the spell failing? You know, that was kind of the question. And so I don't think anyone enjoys the spell failing. So then it was like, well, what's the point of it? So the way we redone it is instead of punishing a player with spell failure and mana management, which already people didn't understand what was happening, instead we're going to reward players who play as mages.
Mm.
So if you play as a mage and you equip all your mage gear, okay, you're going to have less defense and you're going to take, more damage, but it's going to boost your spell casting. So if you get to the end of the and that's another thing in the skill tree, if you're leveling up your magic, the one and only thing we have that's a number crunch is you get a free little boost to your spell cast time. So imagine you level up all your magic in the skill tree. You're kitted out like a wizard. You have staff in your hand. You got mage gloves, all this gear on. You're going to be casting spells like a madman because that's your thing. You're
Right.
you're a wizard. So you're just pop 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 blasting spells, blasting big spells, just absolutely annihilating. But you're a little bit of a glass cannon. You're susceptible to damage.
Hmm.
On the flip side of the coin, if you're a knight, you're going to be glancing blows off your armor and stuff like that, but you're not going to have that boost. And still something that's a work in progress. We were literally just talking about it like a couple of hours ago. Was we're also unsure if heavy bills will have any kind of nerf in any way. Like I think what it's going to do is I think it's going to hurt your stealth and possibly it could hurt your sprint speed, so you can't like run as fast as a mage.
Mm.
And
Okay.
then the letter is obviously somewhere in between, and you can mix and match. You could have like a metal breastplate, but wizard gloves, wizard boots, staff. So you're somewhere in between, or you're full plate metal head to toe, and you're just like a tank, but not a great wizard, or a full light wizard, and you're spellcasting maniac, but you're a glass cannon.
Gotcha. Well, so the thing that comes to me is, I'm sure obviously you guys, you talk about this every day. But one of the things that comes to me is game balance in Crystal Hunt because, Magic has always been
Yeah.
OP. And like you said prior, it's still a power fantasy. Even though you're earning this stuff and you're getting skill points, it's still a power fantasy. However, I think about the gravity spell and how powerful that is. And I can just push people away or like do like almost like the force choke thing and just like toss them just using like the base gravity spell. So I can only imagine how powerful you are going to be as a player as that progresses. So I'm thinking about the enemies, and I know we've had some talks in the past about AI and whatnot, but will this AI also have access to some of this like new magic stuff? Can they use it against the player? Is it more of like a rock, paper, scissors battle and like magic duels, or like what's going on there?
Well, first of all, with regards to the power balance, you're completely right. You know, if you went for a full mage build and you got to the end of the gravity tree, you're just going to be ragdolling dudes left and right. But that's, you know, that's okay because you got to the end of the game. Right. That's super powerful. You're the Skyrim level 100 character. You know, you're that dude. And congrats. Enjoy the spoils of it.
Yeah.
Because you spent all your crystals, you know, you grinded through the hard times when you had nothing. So that's why we don't really see it that way, you know, and we don't really mind. So I think it's going to hit different from when, you know, people are so used to sandbox, just having everything at their fingertips. I think when that's all taken away, you're going to realize how difficult the game is. And then when you do get that little thing like gravity choke or gravity push, you're going to be like, oh, hell yeah, you know.
Right.
And it's going to feel fun, you know, and you're going to have a play style. But with regards to the AI using it, no, at the moment they don't. And really it's largely because you'll see this when you play it. It's more like because it's augmentations of the spells you know already.
Mm-hmm.
So it just doesn't really make sense for the AI to use it. Like you really need to see it to get it. Like for example, wouldn't it be like, say it's a offshoot of gravity, you know, the way you get gravity glide as you know it in sandbox. So that would be the first unlock you might get, and then an offshoot of that is an augmentation that you could jump in the air and suspend yourself in the air. So it doesn't really make sense, you know, for the AI. Or like one
something
is
like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think what comes to mind is, so I picture, you know, because there's going to be other like sorks and warlocks and witches, right? Witches in the term, you know.
Yeah.
But so I imagine, because they can already cast Fireball, they can cast the 3 basic spells. They can cast Fireball, they can do a Gravity Blast, and do Lightning. So they already have that kind of like in their brain somewhere, right? So what I was kind of thinking, how cool it would be. Imagine I have a wooden shield, and then an evil sorcerer. I pictured the old sorcerers from like U6 that are wearing red, you know, like they start merging that lightning into the lightning beam and shooting it at me, and I'm blocking that with my shield, and I'm like, oh no, how am I going to do this? And then like you figure it out, it's just like it's a battle. So I was thinking,
that is badass. Yeah,
that is. And then I was thinking, like, imagine they can do like that force grab on you with the purple thing, and then the player can just like it's part of like it could be a mind skill, like an instant break, or like you can almost, you know how like Lineca with lashing mod, you can cut the thing. So it'd be kind of cool if that was happening, and they could be like, oh, I can like break this spell that's on me. And they could do like a physical thing to break the thing, and then the enemies like they get like lunged back for a second. They're like, "Oh man, you broke my magic," and then you can. So I guess I know that's not a thing because you know
that is cool though. In my dream world, like I wish it could be like Harry Potter or something like that. You know, just you could be dueling mages, like blasting spell, and he's blasting spells like shh. Like that's obviously my dream, but yeah, we don't have anything like that. There is, in technically speaking, there is a lore friendly reason, which is that, you know, all these abilities are locked behind crystal cores, which is not a common currency in the world of Erden. Mm-hmm. You know, that's kind of the point of the crystal hunt. And so, you know, player is finding them and growing more powerful than even the most powerful mages out there. But in, you know, lore reason aside, it is also just the case that it's just the AI just isn't advanced enough to be doing like Harry Potter-esque deals. I wish though, man.
One thing I did want to bring up about Crystal Hunt, because I know like we talked about earlier, like in the official lore, people aren't supposed to have access to magic if you're kind of like a nobody. So since the player starts as a nobody, and let's say they get their first crystal, and they're like, wow, I can cast Fireball. Is that going to pull aggro? Like, will the enemy know now? It's like, oh, they're using more spells, so it's going to spawn more wizards in their dungeon run to be like, to punish them. Be like, oh, well, you thought you're a powerful wizard. Here's a reason why you need to unlock that stuff. Or is that not part of it?
No, not really. It's more like I believe there's 4 factions in the game, and It's more just like different factions are stacked with different, percents. And so like, in the old days, the way it was like we had like gladiators, we had knights and mercenaries and stuff like that. And it was kind of like if you picked a harder difficulty, you're going to get more like full plate guys. If you pick the easier difficulty, you're going to get more sword guys with no armor, no shield, that kind of thing. Instead of that, instead of being tied to difficulty, it's now just tied to factions. And some factions are just inherently tougher than others. So, for example, there's one faction called the Eye, and they're this kind of evil sorcerer kind of cult, and they'll be heavily stacked with magic users, even sword and magic users. Meanwhile, if you have a faction like the Kingdom of Eredin, those guys are going to be okay. They've got a lot of knights or whatever, like soldiers, but less mages, that kind of stuff. Or if it's like a lowly faction, they have neither, just flat out neither, neither knights, neither wizards, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So the good part is it doesn't tie it to difficulty anymore, because most people probably were not picking the toughest difficulty, and so they're probably missing out on like a lot of armors and stuff.
Which is unfortunate. I always go say 3-star all the way.
Right.
Just experience the full game for sure. The next part of Crystal Hunt, a huge part of Crystal Hunt is loot. I saw that in the breakdown, and you have a GIF of like the player opening up almost like a refrigerator, cabinet,
exactly,
and finding this loot. So, but what I saw though, which it made me be like, no, is you picked up almost like a Celtic cross piece almost, and it seemed like you put it over your shoulder. If that was you recording it. Is there a player inventory still? Can they still store things in the inventory on their chest? Was the inventory moved?
Yep.
What's going on there?
No, same thing, same as always. You can you still have an inventory. You can still store things in your inventory by putting it over your shoulder. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not. Today
that
I
is
learned.
that is always a thing. So that's exactly how it works. You just pick it up, throw it on your shoulder, or whatever way you want to put it in your inventory, and then you can see it in your inventory. And that's it. The refrigerator thing, by the way, is just because we were doing some tests for like VR comfort, and one of the things about chests, like a traditional treasure chest, that you would open like and look down upon. One of the things was, the way the game has that like annoying thing where if you lean over a table, you get kind of pushed back.
Yes.
That's just one of these annoying limitations of the full body and VR. Which, by the way, hopefully we'll be able to fix when we do Thunder Road 2. But anyway, it's just an annoying thing of Thunder Road 1. So we were testing it out, and it was kind of like, that's real annoying for treasure chests, because the player will instinctively reach down and then suddenly gets pushed back a little bit. Now, you could use telekinesis, of course, but this is it. We were just testing out different iterations of like what feels good for player loot, and one idea was this kind of cupboard style, refrigerator style thing. And, if we made it look more like a treasure chest, but it had that kind of like horizontal open, maybe it'll be nice. So we're still very much exploring that.
Okay. And what's the point of all this loot that the player finds?
So it's straight up currency to sell for, gold. Now, at the moment, this could change, but at the moment we don't have gold coins, and the reason is because it was annoying to see and to pick up, and so we were messing around with different ideas, like maybe you could pick up coins in like clumps, like gravity style, pick them up in clumps, and I don't know, maybe we'll do that, maybe we won't. But loot, this kind of loot, on the other hand, where it's like little statues and little idols, it's great because it just looks like loot. It's easy to pick up, easy to manipulate, and that is why it is the way it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then once I get this loot, where do I have it now?
Right.
Can I leave the dungeon? Like, so what goes on? I have loot. What do I do?
So yeah, you throw it in your inventory. It's in your inventory. You finish the dungeon, and then in between dungeon runs, that's where you could use it for the shop, and it would sell it to translate into a gold coin bank account, so to speak. You'll have X amount of loot. For example, this little idol you might sell is worth, I'm just picking these numbers out of air, but like this is worth 20 gold coins, and the little Celtic cross is worth 30 gold coins, and then it just appears in the little bank account you have,
Okay. And you bring it to the shop. Where is the shop located? Is it in the player home? Is it somewhere else? Do they have to teleport there? Is there a loaded screen?
There is going to be a loading screen, but I'll tell you, it's a little surprise for you.
Oh, okay. All right. So it's behind the door. Okay.
And it's if you read through the news, you might notice I was a little cagey on the details for the shop. You know, you've got all this lovely deep detail, and then you get to the shop and it's like, oh, there's going to be a shop. Anyway, the armors, and the reason I did that was on purpose. One, because we got some little fun surprises. And two, there's actually a lot of work in progress going on, and a lot of things that I'm just not positive. So I didn't want to commit to saying anything too detailed in case we change it. But I can reveal this part. A lot of people were asking, or like just hypothetically saying on like Reddit and stuff like that, about like, well, can we steal stuff from the shop? The answer to it is no. It totally came up many times in our meetings. And the way we're going to handle it is the player can't steal because the player just can't leave with, stolen goods. And the reason we did it this way was because we went through all these different hypothetical mechanics we could implement for like, okay, how do we, prevent the player from stealing or like just, destroying the shop? And no matter what we came up with, it was always the case that there was some element of gaminess to it. Like, for example, a player was saying like, or sorry, someone was saying in the community was saying like, well, what about if you could steal it, but then it makes the world harder, like the player's kind of punished. That's like, well, if you did something like that, think about it. Would the player even know why the world is getting harder? Is the player going to get some kind of pop-up that tells them? And is that not a bit too gamey itself? Like that, why is the world suddenly harder because the player's stolen? Would there be some kind of stolen tag on the loot? Can the player rectify that? Can the player return it? Like it's almost like the whole joke we always had about fishing. Yeah. First you want a fishing rod, then you gotta fish. Can you spear the fish? Can you eat the fish? Can you cook the fish? And the rabbit hole just goes deeper and deeper. So in the end we said, okay, look, if we gotta have some kind of gaminess, well then maybe let's just pick the type of gaminess that has the least amount of like complexity or confusion. So it's a little bit of a suspension of disbelief, but the concept is like, well, the player just doesn't steal. That's the answer. And so you just don't leave.
So here's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing a couple things. Someone's obviously making a mod so that you can steal.
Yeah.
And it would be kind of cool if you said all these things, but there's a hidden Easter egg Skyrim style that if you put a bucket on the shopkeeper's head, if there is a shopkeeper, you're then allowed to leave no matter what.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I fully anticipate day one mod. Unlimited crystals, unlimited gold.
Oh well,
those
are lame mods. I understand the power fantasy, and you want to be like, you want to know what? I just want to fire a laser beam right now. But if they're intentionally trying to just break Crystal Hunt with the mod, that's a no fun mod.
It's gonna be day one mod, and the funniest part about it will be, for years and years and years, players saying, "Oh, we want progression mode," and then the day one mod will come to turn progression mode into sandbox mode, and I'll go cry in a corner.
What's going to happen.
Yeah.
And actually, that does bring up something I was going to go back to, but now's a great time to bring it up. Is so Dalgarian is Crystal Hunt, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys also have a technical separate outpost. So there's outpost and then there's Dalgarian. And there's obviously, you said there's ways to get to each one of them. Now, does the outpost only exist now for the sandbox player and vice versa?
No, so you'll be doing outpost runs and you'll be doing Dalgarian dungeon runs.
Oh, so it exists in both of them. Cool.
Exactly, yeah. And you'll see how it all ties together when you play. And then in sandbox mode, you can also just do dungeon runs willy-nilly, the same way you always do them. And I think, I'm not 100% positive, but I'm pretty sure that you'll also just be able to do Dalgarian dungeon runs in sandbox mode.
Cool.
To be confirmed, but I'm pretty sure.
To be confirmed.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, so now is some ambiguity about the shop. I'm not going to press you any further on that. That's fair. What I do want to press you on now is we have new armors and new weapons, and some of the armors belong to the different factions. So that's how you know you're fighting the different factions, right? Is by the different armor sets they're wearing.
Well, not so much. It's really just in terms of armor. It's just the armor, and then the only new stuff that you have is the full plate. You've got the full leather, and then I'm nearly certain that there was also Druid armor.
Okay,
I need to double check that. And then there's just mixing and matching. So like you might have some guys who are metal plate, but they have like rogue legs. And that's kind of what I was saying was the difference between the old style and then the new factions. Is in the old style you had knights, they always had just metal armor. The mercenaries, they always had leather armor. The bandits always had leather armor. But now you actually have mixing and matching. So it's not necessarily like one faction owns a whole armor set, as much as you can find a spread of armor layouts in different factions. However, some will be stilted towards, more armored or less armored, or more magey, less magey, and so forth and so on. More shields, less shields, that kind of thing.
Okay. So then we have all the new weapons, and if I read this correctly, there is 37 new weapons on top of what's already there for a total of 75, all unique in their own right. And when I say unique in their own right, like there could be 3 short swords, but one of them is a more rounded one or a heavier one. And then I see here that you have like a flame burge in one of the pictures, and there's a halberd, and then there's this crazy looking staff that's like a flamethrower. So like, is there a weapon that you can talk about that's obviously not shown in here that you're excited about? Is there like a whip? Well, can I use a whip now?
No, I wish there was a whip. Here's the thing, man. When I was playing the dev build for ages, and I saw these weapons, and I was like, cool, we have new weapons, awesome. And for some reason, in the back of my head, I'm like, we've probably had like, 6 weapons in there or something like that. Like, oh, that's awesome. That's going to be great. Not really paying attention. And then when it came to in the news, I was just confirming it with some of the devs. I was like, can someone tell me like exactly how many weapons we have so I don't have to go into the game and count? And one of the guys is, it's like 37 or something like that. I was like, 37? I was like, I literally didn't believe it. I had to go into the game and count. I counted and I couldn't believe it. I was like, how did I not realize we added so many weapons? And then when I did the math and counted, holy hell, like we already have 38 weapons in the game, like right now in U12. There's already 38 weapons in the game. So I couldn't believe like we doubled the amount of weapons. I don't know how that happened. But anyway, I don't necessarily have a favorite. I think they're all super cool. I quite like the new sorcerer staff.
That looks awesome. Super cool. I mean, that flamethrower thing blew my mind.
Yeah. A little surprise, yes. And it's pretty much, I think, every single weapon has a tier. Like as in axes, long swords and stuff. Everything has like an upper tier now, and everything has a lower tier. The lower tier are things like, rusty spikes or butcher's knives and stuff like that. And then the upper tier are kind of more fancy swords. And then also, a surprise that I didn't even expect we would do is we got new bows, finally. And also we have different types of arrows.
Oh, yes.
So that's cool.
That's good.
Yeah. And then we have a couple of different quivers. And by the way, I didn't even factor these into the new weapons. So these are not included in my calculation for new weapons. Yeah. But yeah, a couple of quivers, and you can put your quiver in your hip now, which is like a nice little feature. And I think there may be new shields. I forget.
Okay.
I got to double check that.
Cool.
But yeah, not even counting all that stuff, just flat out just weapons. Just 37, I believe, right now. 37 weapons.
Wow.
New weapons.
And obviously, a lot of people play with mods and stuff, so they had access to Medieval Mega Pack and whatnot. And I think in the Medieval Mega Pack, most of the weapons can be half sorted or multiple points. And I know in the past, you and I have spoken, and it was listed under it's too janky to get half sorting on some of these ones. What's going on there?
It came up not too long ago. So some weapons, like I even think it's in the picture of one of the swords I did. They have a little leather handle. You can grab onto it. But what about grabbing onto the blade? Half sword and like medieval megapack. Yeah, it came up again. We talked about it again, and again it was the same issue. Cosby is worried that it's just too jank, and he hates how the fingers look. So this is the hurdle. He's kind of like, if we were going to do it, I want for the final game, and if it was going to be an official feature, I want to do it right. Mm-hmm. But then we did the math and calculated, okay, well, how much effort is this? And it was a case of like, well, look, does the effort we put in pay off for as much as people want it as a feature? And I know there's people out there who really want it, but is there an overwhelming amount of people who want it to such extent that we would take away from something else out of the game?
Okay.
And that's kind of where it came from. If we had infinite man hours, then obviously we would love to do it. But if it's a case of this versus that, it's like, okay. So that was the kind of stuff we'd been doing the last months, like weighing up, okay, we have this amount of manpower, we have this amount of time. We aren't going to do infinite development. We want to be able to release this because we don't want to make people wait.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think people just want to hear you guys say, for that one claymore that's already in the game that has the leather grip that you currently can't grip above the hilt, can that now be gripped?
Dude, I'm nearly positive.
Okay,
I'm
nearly positive.
Nearly positive, because even in the picture, I'm doing it. And
but that's a different weapon. That's a different weapon you're doing.
Oh, you mean the one? I think it's a great sword. That one.
Uh-huh. It's like a Highlander sword. Looks like.
Not positive. I'm not positive.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Huge
sorry.
disappointment. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I have to ask. I'd have to ask Sushin about that. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
I'll make a note
on that one.
This could be one of those things that I mentioned in the comments.
Okay. So we're gonna let you slide on that one only because but the only reason we're letting you slide is because you guys revamped and changed the runes or the ruins. I should say.
Yeah.
So that it looks like a totally different world now. And do these worlds? So we have arena. We have. I'm not listing them all, but the ruins.
Yeah.
Does that play a factor in the main story of Crystal Hunt? Does the player ever go to these rooms to get a crystal?
Right. That is a good question. For a crystal, no, they don't go to there to get crystal. But it did come up in a conversation about, is there a way we can utilize these into the game? And in the dream world, we had an idea of how we could implement these into Crystal Hunt, and it was really cool. I really want to do it. I've been pushing for it, and I'm not the only one at Warpro pushing for it. But it came back to the whole thing. Are we too crunched? And so it's sitting on a shelf at the moment, and basically it's not up for discussion until we can complete the roadmap.
Okay.
And if we can complete the roadmap, I'm going to come back and I'm going to push again to see if we can get it into the game. So I guess you could say no, but there's a sliver of hope if we can get things done soon.
Okay. If you, off the top of your head right now, as fast as you can, but still being coherent, can you list the dream stuff that you want in Blade and Sorcery, and then hopefully I can entice the legions of modders, and maybe behind the scenes they make a version like the fully modded Baron's dream scenario. What would be all the dream stuff you would want in this version?
Dude, it doesn't end. It doesn't end.
No, it has to end. Give me 10 of them. 5 of them.
Everything.
5.
Give me a whip. Give me a whip. Give me fishing in there. I'll take half sword, and why not? I'll take more maps. Why not? I'll take new dungeons. Like, it's just that's the gift and the curse of it being a simulation sandbox, is that you could just keep going. And actually, this is a good point to bring this up. This is a good time to bring this up. A couple of folks were saying, they've been following the game for 5 years. They're like, just keep going, please. Just keep building it out. And in theory, you could just keep doing new updates, dropping it on top of Blade and Sorcery. But here's the thing. Because it's been 5 years, it's not just that we would love to do new IPs because we all love Blade and Sorcery. It's our baby. But the technology has changed. You know, 5 years is a long time. And so, like I was mentioning earlier, we've been making Blade and Sorcery with Thunder Road. That's our SDK. And when Cosby first made Thunder Road, you know, he was a first-time developer. He was working on his own. He was learning how it goes, you know, figuring out how to be a game developer. Now, 5 years later, we have 20-something staff. We're all trying to use Thunder Road. And there's so much spaghetti code.
Yeah.
And we've all learned and we've all grown so much. So when we go to do our next game, we really want to use Thunder Road 2, which is the new and improved version of basically the code that you know as Blade and Sorcery. So this will hopefully get rid of a whole bunch of jank, you know, better physics, better hands, all those little annoying things like what I was saying about getting pushed back when you lean over stuff. All that stuff that kind of like you learn through trial and error, and now, oh, damn, it's in Thunder Road. We have a second chance to come at it as a more experienced studio, and a chance for our other employees to also weigh in and have a hand in on the development of this SDK and to understand it. So they're not just coming in and learning what someone else has already written. They're actively involved in the process. So I know it's like it would be cool to just keep lumping on top of Blade and Sorcery, but it would also be cool to start fresh with new streamlined code and just make a bigger and better game. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and, I'm glad you say it. I'm glad you spoke about that, because it answers so many other questions that I myself have, or other players, about not what's going on, but about the why isn't this happening. And you know, from the game development side, you understand it's like, no, this is what's promised. This is what we need to be in the game. We understand that. But I guess it's the thing where people are like, well, what about, you know, two-hand animations? What about better AI? Or even, like I said, what about an AI is able to use the merge spells and stuff? And it's like, listen, my God, merge spells came out long after we even thought about Magic. So it's kind of like, I get it. Like, it makes sense now. And it's just like, you know, the promise of, like, I'm not trying to give you guys an out or a scapegoat. I'm not that type of guy. But as far as saying, it's like, listen, all this stuff now, once 1.0 releases, like, if you guys are doing a Blade and Sorcery 2 or like a spiritual successor in the future, just all this stuff of like what Blade and Sorcery triggered in the player's mind, like, I wish this can happen. Like, that's why studios make more games and make new iterations of things. It's not just because when you're playing, like, oh, let's go back and remake Final Fantasy 1 now that we have the technology of like what's going on in this one. So it's really good to state that, say, hey, all that stuff you guys are saying, it's not that we're blind and like, oh, why didn't we think of that?
Exactly.
You guys are thinking of that. It's just that you don't want to drive a car from 1920s when the 2023 model is just speeding past you.
Man, it's spot on. Exactly. Like, we could totally see the imperfections and we wish we could fix them, but it's like, you're exactly right. It's like, that's why Morrowind didn't go on forever. They didn't just keep lumping on top of Morrowind. They made Oblivion. And then Oblivion didn't go on forever. They made Skyrim, because every time there was like a bump in quality. And it's the same thing for us. Like, I think there's two things people don't kind of maybe think of when they think of game development. The first is there's so much math involved. The whole thing is just calculations. It's all physics. It's nuts. It's a crazy amount of math. And the second thing is the way the code is written. Think of like a big ball of twine. Okay? And all that, instead of string, it's math. And, you know, when you pull on that twine, you're now pulling on a string of math. And so, like, you want to make a small, in quotes, change. Okay, you're pulling a small thread out of a ball of twine. And what way does that change the shape of the ball of twine? It's crazy. It's crazy complicated, and it's scary to mess with things, you know, because you never know where it's going to mess up something down the line. Just one digit change has a ripple effect, and then all of a sudden, enemy are getting yeeted out of the map, you know? So it's like, it's such a delicate beast to mess with at this point. It's so unwieldy. So it would be just so nice to go into Thunder Road 2 with our next game and then just start writing clean lines of code based on all the stuff that we've learned from 5 years of Blade and Sorcery, and make a bigger, more ambitious game. Just with a new IP. So that's good for the staff of Warfrog too, because we don't want people to burn out. They'll be excited to work on something new. And meanwhile, with Blade and Sorcery, obviously after 1.0, there's almost certainly there'll be patches. I'll be amazed if there's not. But obviously there'll be patches to fix things. Very possibly there could be small content patches. But I think what people shouldn't expect is it's not going to be an active development in the sense the way it has been, where it's like, okay, guys, we'll see it in 3 months or 6 months, and we're going to have this huge big update with a ton of new features. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be more maintenance or like small little things. And then it's like, we'll work on our second game. That's going to be exciting for people to get into. And the fate of Blade and Sorcery, let's see. If we did want to keep expanding the core of Blade and Sorcery, fair enough, but it's going to be on Thunder Road. So there's going to be long QA times. There's going to be limitations there. Maybe there will be a spiritual successor, like you said. If there was, maybe it's on Thunder Road too. So then it'd be kind of like Blade and Sorcery, but with all the reaping the benefits of our new SDK,
Sorcery and Blades, you can call it.
Yeah. And if we did do that, maybe it's a continuation of the game.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a spiritual successor. I literally don't know, Like someone on Reddit was saying, like, maybe it's Blade and Sorcery, but in a new part of the world.
Yeah.
Maybe. That would be kind of cool.
That would be cool.
So
and
we'll see.
Well, what comes to mind is, so everything you just said, the game has been in early access and you guys have had the support of everyone behind you for a long time. So one is a quick answer. We don't really need an explanation, but it's just like a yes or no. And then if yes, then. So since it's coming out in 1.0, will there be a price change in a 1.0 release?
Yeah, I don't know what that price change is. Okay. I know. Yeah, I know Cosby always said we were going to do that. The concept there being the $20 early access price. That's the kind of thanks, guys.
Yes.
Because you know how goddamn unreliable early access can be.
Oh yeah.
So people trusted us. There you go, $20. You got a ton of life out of the game. I think it might be $29.99, like $30. That's what I think.
So I mean, fair price, absolutely. So
unsure though.
Well, yeah. So unconfirmed. It's just the same as multiplayer. $29. So
yeah, I'll tell you. Can I say one thing?
Yes.
Sorry, I just want to say one thing though. It certainly is not going to be some extortionate price. It's not going to be like $60 or any crap like that.
No, I don't think we expected that. I think honestly, the $30 is right where my brain went.
Yeah.
So and I mean this next part in the most loving way possible, and it's not critical.
Yeah.
So what I mean is, so what happens now? So a game that's done with early access, any game, it comes out in 1.0, and there's a price change. You will open yourself up to criticism. Now, and not criticism because you changed the price. What I mean is full criticism about the game because it's a fully launched game.
Yes.
So you just mentioned, like, hey, we learned so many things along this 5 to 6 year journey. Like, Kyle Cosby said, is like, I wish I didn't do this, or the spaghetti code. Like, I get that. You get that. A lot of people get that have been backers. So now when 1.0 releases, and hopefully there's more audience that it releases too, some of the stuff that you hope that's like in the future is like, oh man, a spiritual successor would be nice here. Is there any concern about when it releases 1.0, any of the feedback you guys are going to get, any of the criticism you guys would get?
No, because I guess, well, first of all, because I think 1.0 is going to be good.
I think it's going to be fantastic.
That's my first thing. I think it's going to be the best update we do. And then the second thing is, like, if someone has a criticism about the game on 1.0, much as some people have criticisms of the game right now, I mean, what can you do? that is the nature of criticism, isn't it? But it's like, everything is in the context of its time. You know what I mean? Like when, let's even say Morrowind. When Morrowind came out, people were loving it. Go play Morrowind now, though, and you'll be upset, right? Yeah, right. So it's like the same thing with Blade and Sorcery. Like when we came out in 2018, it was so pioneering in VR, and from it came a ton of people, a ton of games that were influenced by it.
Yeah.
And that was cool. So that was the excitement of 2018. Now, as we go into 2023 and 1.0, I still think the same thing about like there's still so much in Blade and Sorcery that's not in any other VR game. Period. And there's some similarities, like Hellsplit, another VR fighter with physics, Boneworks, another full physics simulation, but they're still not Blade and Sorcery, so that's it. So it's simply it's the person coming along in the time that he lives, trying a game and comparing it to other games on the market, and then either liking it or not liking it. And I think, let the player do that. That's their choice.
Yeah, I think when I think we spoke about it in the past or even in this interview, but one of the things I think about is how the player interacts with NPCs, like as far as the combat, right? So you could do magic.
Yeah.
I could be like, boom, this dude's hit by a fireball. Check game over for that player. But I think about things like the sword play of it all in combat, right? And there's some things that are TBD or may not even come, but like things like AI using two-handed weapons, or are they blocking more, are they riposting more, like that type of stuff. So when I think about, because I've played this game for a long time, and I wouldn't say I'm an average player at this point. Like I played it for so long, I can almost see the look in the NPC's eye that I know what they're going to do next,
No
right?
doubt.
So I'm different because there's thousands of hours on there, so it's a little bit different. But I think like from starting off for someone brand new, so seeing the enemy, if they're just using like the one hand and they see like some of those like regular combos, I guess, and they're thinking about the combat of it, because I think your guys' original slogan, I don't know if it's the same slogan, it was supposed to be like sword fighting fantasy. I don't remember off the top of my head. So I think if someone's playing and they're like, oh, sword fighting fantasy, not that it's not out to snuff. The sword fighting I love in this game. I think it's just like you want more of the NPCs. You want, it was like, oh man, it would be cool if this person did like a two-handed over the top block like that when I came down on them. Or, if you grab them by the neck, are they still going to rotate and spin like through your wrists, or on the same thing like when you're levitating?
Yep.
I think that type of stuff just kind of comes to mind, especially when a game is now going to be like, hey, I'm 1.0, like I'm here, like I'm here now. So I just think about some of that stuff.
Totally, man. And this is what I mean about moving on from Thunder Road to Thunder Road 2. It's always going to be the case, because it's like if you kept padding out Morrowind and you just kept tacking onto Morrowind, you're just not going to be able to achieve Oblivion. You're just going to keep making Morrowind,
Yeah, that's fair.
And it's the same thing. It's like we've been 5 years in development. So it's like we have been tacking onto Morrowind for 5 years. Like I totally agree with you about like, I wish there was 200 like attack animations, like I literally don't want there to be a cap, I can't get enough. But from a pragmatic point, it's kind of like, well, where do we draw the line on the content? We have to stop somewhere.
Yeah.
And there is only so much manpower to be distributed. So where do we distribute people? And then, yeah, dude, it's the big thing, isn't it? It's like, I want it all, but you got to draw the line somewhere.
That's fair.
And it's like, and it's even like we Blade and Sorcery, especially when we came out in 2018, with VR sword fighting, I totally get that feeling that people had, where some players they wanted it to be like so realistic that it was like, it's like you're really 1v1ing player. You're really 1v1ing someone, like a HEMA type kind of thing. But it's just the technology, the technology was so crazy. Like if you're doing a regular video game, the enemy has, even Dark Souls, okay? The enemy just has like 1 or 2 attack animations, and they just keep doing that attack animation. Now you come into VR space, which is just like the Wild West, and the player can attack from some wacky angle that it just doesn't exist, How does the AI cope with that? So it's this whole new world that we were trying to figure out. And in 2018, we were really the pioneers of it, where we had predictive parry, and it was not perfect, but it was unlike anything you'd ever seen before. Um, and that's all you can say really. It was like, it was the best for its time, So the only thing we could do now is kind of move the next rung up the ladder, and
Yeah.
let's try the next thing.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean,
Yeah.
I wanted to at least bring that forth, not to be critical about it. I'm super
No,
excited. I just wanted
totally,
to.
man, totally. Let me tell you, the only time I read a review that I'm like bummed out with the review is someone saying like, oh, crap game doesn't even load. It's just
Oh,
like, dude, you're mods.
yeah.
Like, get out of here. Like, it's like, or I saw someone leave a bad review this morning because they're like, Mod.io sucks, and they had like 80 hours of the game. It's like, come on, man.
It's
Like,
like that's
I always
not
find
the
that
game.
yeah, I find that disappointing. Or another one I hate is negative review, no multiplayer. It's like I know it would be cool, and I know players would like that, or some players would like that. But is it really fair to criticize a game on what it doesn't have and never promised to have?
Yeah,
it's kind
that's fair.
I don't know. I don't know.
And just a small caveat to that, I think it's because when they look at just like a game like Bone Lab with similar physics to you, a
Yeah.
modder created Bone Lab Fusion, which is mind blowing, where it's just
Oh,
kind of
nice.
like, how is this happening in a way? So, and the thing is, it's just not what you guys just aren't focused on. You're like, hey, like we said
Right.
before, if the manpower goes in that, there's probably
Right.
no crystal hunt. There's probably no this, and then if we dropped all that stuff and just released, the sandbox version with just you and a
Right.
buddy, what type of experience would that be? So, and the thing is, it's not to say a mod can't do that. Like, there's a mod author, Adamantium. They've done test versions of Blade and Sorcery multiplayer. So, a mod can do that. So, it's just kind of funny that people kind of bring, like you said, they bring up something that's like, well, it's not promised, but I'm mad that you don't have it. It's just kind of funny.
Yeah. Or like another scenario is, okay, we keep doing Crystal Hunt, release 1.0. Okay, cool news. We're going to work on multiplayer. See you in 1 to 2 years.
At least, yeah.
Will players want that? Or maybe we do a new IP. Like it's just about figuring out where you want to spend the manpower. And the thing about multiplayer is, as well as just the crazy technical difficulties, effort involved, in my opinion, it's gonna change the face and the character of the game. You're suddenly gonna have multiplayer lobbies. You're suddenly gonna have tons of like screaming kids in lobbies. It's gonna change that character, and it's gonna change the character of the community and stuff. And it's just a question to be had: is do we want that? Is that what we wanted? Is that what we set out to do? And yeah, that's it.
I mean, who knows, man? You have Frodo Baggins here with other surprises, so you could be talking about multiplayer this whole time and just being cheeky about it. I see it. He's looking right at us.
I promise you, no.
It's funny. So, I mean, of course, everyone's going to wonder what other surprises is. I'm not going to get out of you today for sure. And then, as far as the release date goes, you guys have sometime in Q1 of 2024.
Yeah.
Is it possible that it goes into Q2, or is it still kind of like, no, we're getting it out in Q1 no matter what?
Oh, dude. Absolutely positive it goes into, or no, absolutely possible, I should say. It goes into Q2. Q1 is like, we sat down, we wrote it out on paper. We said, okay, how much time do you need to do this? Okay, dungeons, how much time? Okay, cool. How much time to implement this? And then we're like, okay, this could look like Q1, and then it also gives us a little bit of time to do QA. It's like, okay, so it's going to be Q1 2024. Now, I can totally foresee December comes. Hey, are all the skills done? Oh, no, I had problems. I'm still working on them. Oh, okay. How are the rooms looking? Oh, I haven't even gotten to that. I still have a couple of rooms. It's like, okay, January, February comes along. March comes along, and it's like, okay, we're done. Look, we're feature complete. But we haven't even started QA.
Right.
And then QA starts, and it's like, guys, this is a nightmare. And then it's like, oh, God. And so begins QA hell. I can totally imagine that situation.
Yeah.
But in a dream world, it works out like we have it on paper, and we finish QA in Q1.
Okay.
So that's
fair.
what we're looking at. Yeah.
So I have the final couple of thoughts for you. So I think it's one of them, you know what it's going to be, but before I get there, it's no secret that the Quest 3 came out. And
Oh yeah.
so in this conversation, right, and what it sounds like is it's road to 1.0, Nomad included. Let's get it there. Let's get our current build there, minimize the bugs, minimize like anything new that's going to throw us off. So that being said, Quest 3 is a huge jump from Quest 2. And I know Quest 2 really is holding back Nomad. So the fact that there is a Quest 3, is there hope to get like a Nomad big patch sometime in the future that says like, hey, you know, there is a Quest 2 build, but like that's yesterday's news. Like you said, it's Morrowind. Now that you have the Skyrim version of portable headsets, like
right.
Can Nomad be, because I played Nomad on the Quest 3, and to me I'm like, wow, this feels better and different just from the native upscaling that it got with better processing in there. So now that I say you, but you and the team as the developers, it's kind of in your hand to enhance Nomad so that it can run on better hardware.
So this is a great question, man. There's some confusion on this with players. Players are saying, are you going to release a Quest 3 version of the game? But the Quest 3 version of the game is Nomad. Mm-hmm. So then this follow-up question is, well, will it have better graphics? And you hit the nail exactly on the head. It will still have Nomad graphics, but the better part you're going to get is the fact that you're going to have just better hardware. You'll have a clearer resolution or whatever. I don't actually have a Quest 3, but you do. I believe it's better colors and that kind of stuff. But will it look like PC VR? No, it won't. Because it is still Nomad. And we're not going to ever do like another release of the game that's just for Quest 3 and it has like something in between Nomad and PC VR, because that would just be nuts. Like if you think about it.
That's what I figured.
Yeah, because I mean, just think about it. Then you're talking about a third port of the game, another game to uphold, another bunch of dev time, and is anyone really going to rebuy the game if you already have it on Nomad, you already have it on PC VR, to get something that's in between PC VR and Nomad? Like, it just doesn't really make sense. And then also people were saying, well, what about Quest 3? It has all these like new features. Will Quest 3 get Citadel and all this stuff? And again, I go back to no, because it's just Nomad. And we didn't want to spend the time adding like specific Quest 3 hardware features, you know, like I think hand tracking, for example, I think was one. Yeah. Because we just really want to do 1.0. You know what I mean? We don't want to delay everybody just for the benefit of Quest 3. So all I will say is Nomad on the Quest 3, the benefit you're going to get from that is you're just going to benefit from the flat out better hardware. It may look crisper, the colors might be better, but also the performance is going to be better. Mm-hmm. How much better, I'm not sure because I haven't tried it myself. And then things like, you know, you'll be able to play more mods, less crashing, that kind of stuff. But there's not going to be a Quest 3 Nomad store exclusive version of the game. Nothing like that.
Okay.
Know?
Now, the last thing about Quest and Nomad, I saved it for the end, just to get it out of there, is what's going on with scripting, man. We have 1.0 coming out. I think I have been helping you guys on the front lines, dying, saying, hey, I don't think scripting is going to come out before 1.0, and I don't think scripting is going to come out with 1.0. Yes. For me, I feel like scripting is going to be like, hey, 1.0 is out. Now they breathe a little bit, and then here's also scripting. So,
well, first of all, thank you, sir, for always, being the shield. Here's something I've been telling people. It's completely, what's the word? It's like scripting is completely detached from everything else to do with Blade and Sorcery development. So we hired a developer to work on this about a year ago now, which I cannot believe it's been that long. And he just works on that. He doesn't do anything else. He doesn't do anything else to do with the game. He just works on his own schedule, like he was in college for a while. Now he's full-time, that kind of thing. And it's ready when it's ready. Blade and Sorcery could be finished and completely packed away. And then this guy says, oh, it's ready. Or a year ago, we could have been working on U11. And the guy's like, oh, it's ready. So that was it. The latest with it was, it's so frustrating because it's so up and down in hope and despair. It was looking really good. he had it in a situation where he's like, this is looking good, like for a release, and I'm testing mods and it's working. And we were like, oh, hell yeah. Then we were like, okay, push it to a build. Let's test it. And one of our guys, one of our developers, Wooly, did a little test of it. He said, great. He grabbed the mod, tried it, boom, it crashed his entire headset. And so it's like, okay, well, what's the story? And then we looked at the code, or we didn't look at the code because none of us know how this code works. Only our guy knows. He looked at it and he's like, I see what happened. Okay, this is breaking. This is a problem. So now we're in this weird gray space where it's like, it's kind of working. But how is that going to be? You know, because it's like, it's going to be a minefield. It's like we could push it and then some mods may work and it's like, awesome. But then some mods may like as severe as crash headsets.
Wow.
So we're like not sure. So we're like kind of toying with the idea of a scripting beta. And you know, we're actually going to have some meetings about this. We were just talking about it today. And so the idea might be maybe what we might do is release a branch. It's called U12 _ I understand I may break my headset, or not break your headset, but I understand I may crash my headset with scripting. You know, something that's like the player knows, like, hey, if you're going to try this is experimental. Don't get angry. You know, you promised, you know, that you wouldn't get angry. And then the players can try it. And the modders can have a go, make their mods with scripting. And some mods may port great, just like we did in our tests. Some mods may port. And some mods may not port. Yeah. And the ones that don't port, hopefully the modder will have tested it and just not upload it. So in other words, happy days. The players just get to enjoy some scripting mods which work. Awesome. And then the modders that see that their mods don't work, they could kind of contact us and be like, what's up? Do you guys know how to fix this? And then maybe we can help them try and fix it, you know, on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
So that might satisfy everything, you know, because it might be like, look, you can don't believe us? Try scripting. see yourself. Tell us how's it working?
If I can throw one thing, and once again, I mean this in a loving way, if I can channel every person that's played Nomad from the ages of 13 plus.
Yeah.
And I have to say, because it's 2023, it is what it is. Is it a skill issue? That's all I want to say.
Yeah.
Does it come down to skill issue is that what's taking so long for scripting? Or is it just kind of like, and I total love. I don't understand how to do it. I'll never understand how to do it. So this is not throwing shade.
No, dude, totally. It is a skill issue. Okay. And here's the thing. It's a skill issue because no one in history has done this.
Okay.
That's why it's a skill issue. It's making PC mods, it's making the like injected code work on the Quest, which is not allowed. So it involves writing a goddamn book of code that makes this work. No one has done this. No other video game, no one in VR space. This is a brand new thing that we dedicated a whole bunch of like time and money and resources to do. It gives us no benefit other than we know absolutely players on the Quest are going to love it because they're going to get to use crazy mods. That's the only reason we're doing it. The game is going to be done. You know, the game is being made independent of this. And that's it. None of the guys on the team understand this code. It's literally a specialist we have working on it. And he's just for the past year, he's been writing a novel of code to invent a new thing. And that's it, man.
Well, I just wanted to bring up, you know, I say that because, you know, I hear those comments like to me, and I'm like, I don't make this stuff. But the other thing I wanted to bring up is, have you guys heard of Lemon Loader?
Okay, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what this is. It's like inventing Lemon Loader.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. But like a new version of Lemon Loader. Not just loading mods, but loading injected coding into mods. That's exactly it. So imagine someone coming along and say, okay, we're going to invent a new thing, Lemon Loader. Okay, begin. And just starting with a blank canvas and then working on that.
Yeah, so, you know, I just bring up Lemon Loader because I think about Bone Lab and on the Quest 2.
Yeah.
And now, granted, I know I just defeated my own argument. I just realized that by saying this, but Lemon Loader, using that one, they can play the multiplayer version of Bone Lab, but they also need to rely on their PC still to play it. But so aside from that, exactly, I have seen some coded mods work on the Quest because of Lemon Loader. So I don't know if that means anything. It's just that they have just, I've seen it happen.
Here's the nuance, okay? I don't know enough about Melon Loader, so I can't exactly say in what way are they loading codes. I just don't know.
Okay,
but anyway,
that's fair. I mean, I had to bring it up. I had to shadow box at you for a little bit.
let me ask you this, okay? Because you're in it all the time, okay? Do you think a beta would be a good idea?
Yes.
If we Okay. Well, then I'll bring this up,
and I'll give you the caveat is it's no secret, and I mean this with love to my audience as well as you guys. Is I've been young also, and I understand just wanting to get my hands on something. So you are going to get the bad version of this where everyone's like doesn't work, right? And you don't want a million negative reviews on the Metastore because they opted in for a beta that doesn't work, right? So that would suck, and you would be inviting bad press for no reason and hurt yourself literally for no reason other than you at the end of the day you want the best version. So that for me could be a hard stop as a business person. I would be like, well, that doesn't make any sense to do that one. However, if possible, if people would not leave those reviews, but the fate is in their hands to not leave those reviews because of their own actions. So I don't know.
No, that's a great point, man. It's a great point, but you know what? Kind of my vibe is this, okay? First of all, you're opting in to a beta that says like, I acknowledge this may not work perfect or whatever. Okay, so come on. Okay, that's the first line of defense. The second line of defense is, my theory is, if you're just a super casual drift in, drift out type of player, you don't really know the story behind scripting, you don't care about Warfrog or anything like that, you might not even see there's a beta.
Yeah, that's fair.
And it's only the people who are really enthused and have a bit more like sense about like, look, this is being worked on, this is a work in progress. So they're the hardcore guys who will hopefully be the guys who actually opt into the beta. That's cool. So that might be the second line of defense. And then the last line of defense about it is, in theory, a modder ports their mod and you would hope the modder tests the mod. And it either works or it doesn't work.
Right.
And if it works, boom, they upload it onto Mod.io, they upload it onto Nexus. If it doesn't work, you would hope they just don't upload it. So that last line of defense is, technically speaking, players should not be having crashes because the only mods being uploaded are the ones that worked.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So,
well, that's fair. And plus, even in your Mod.io loader, the way you guys said it, like somehow I had U11 on my Quest 3. I have no idea. When I turned it on and I did Nomad, and I saw it was like red, and it was like these don't work. So it's possible also that on the beta branch, anything that is not the beta branch script and mod will show up in red on purpose, which would be great.
Exactly.
But the thing is also, and like you guys have done in the past with other betas and stuff, where Blade and Sorcery is so special because of the way you guys treat modders, and sometimes it's let the modders figure it out. And it's not that you guys can't figure out, it's just that, like you said, like we don't have the person power to do this. So if you have a modder's like, you want to know what, like maybe I'll try to do something, and it's just that, it's called like the beginner's eye almost, like not that they're beginners, but it's the first time they're looking at something, they're like, oh dude, you have a comma right there, and they're like, oh shit, type of thing. And but the thing is, like, if you just have them as a beta, right, and it doesn't hinder your progress, like, hey, just give them the stuff we're also working on, and they're like, okay, so let me try to move this around, and let me make this mod, and let me see if I can spawn in a flame chicken, and somehow they figure that out, and then they can compile news and player logs and send that back to you.
Exactly.
I think
that exactly came up too, where it was kind of like, okay, look, we're in a position now where some stuff works. and some stuff doesn't work. How do you know what works? We don't know. It just some just will, some won't. So if we put it out there, then it could be the case that look, we are at that point now where we need modders to tell us this does not work. My mod didn't work, and then we could kind of look into it and be like, well, okay, why didn't that mod work?
Yeah.
And maybe there was a trend, maybe there's a pattern, maybe a modder has figured it out, you know, and yeah. So anyway, that's probably the most exclusive news I think I've ever revealed on scripting is what I'm telling you right now. So that's the first time exclusive about where we are with scripting. And we're going to have some meetings at Warfrog about it soon to decide the fate of scripting and what we're going to do with it. And that is how I'm leaning right now.
Okay.
This beta idea. And I know a couple of the guys are too. So
I think it's a good idea. You know, obviously it's not like it's coming out tomorrow because you said it, but I think it's a good idea to mull over and just be like, hey guys, what do you actually think? Like, are we pulling the trigger, or should we just let them say, hey, let us work on it behind the scenes, just to, you know, it's just like an ongoing funny trend.
I know, man, and it's kind of like, it's too bad we couldn't just be like, scripting is released, and it would be like awesome. So it's like, it's not as magnanimous as that. I wish it was, but hey, look, in the real world, maybe this is what we got to do. It's got to be a beta. It's in a stage where maybe it could be a beta, so let's talk about that. You know,
it's in closing, last thought on this. It's the weird thing is in like the sub community, there's a community, and I say the sub community. In the sub community, for whatever reason, I mean, I know the reason, there's like a divide between Nomad and PC. I mean, it just is what it is. And it just, people make that, because what ends up happening is you have a modder that they make a really great mod. Let's say, I'm just going to pick one at random. So let's say you have the Outer Rim, and everyone's like, wow. And then someone from Nomad sees that they're not in the know, or they're younger, and they say, doesn't work, or can this work on Nomad, right? And what ends up happening, it pisses off like a certain subsect of people, and then they start like clowning on Nomad to be like, oh, you're a dumb Nomad player, and it's like hammering down. They're like punching down for no reason. And, and you know, if we can get to parity where the modder can just be like, yep, boom, released on Nomad, and like it's a 3 gigabyte file, so good luck, Nomad. But you know, but it's just, I don't want to see this like animosity for no reason, and people punching down, or people saying, oh, you have Nomad. So yeah, that's my last thought about that.
I do not even understand that. Like, we have a rule like on our subreddit about this, about like let's not talk with the players, let's talk with the game. Like, I don't understand why Nomad players get picked on. I don't know.
That's it. We went for a while. I appreciate you, my friend. These talks are always so fun, but I feel like you and I, it could be, oh my God, 3 hours went by. What ended up happening?
Yeah, this was a long one, but we knew it was going to be.
We knew it was going to be, but I appreciate all the thought you have. And if you have some time in the future when this video goes live, I'm hoping to get it out this weekend, sometime soon. So if you have time, stop by in the comment section and yell at us about multiplayer that you confirmed in the first, actually in minute 23, right? No, I'm just kidding. So super exciting. Again, I appreciate you, Baron. I appreciate you and your team working. And I also appreciate your culture, how you're not like making people do their crunch time. So it's very appreciative. But yes, other than that, thank you so much for stopping by. Everyone, do that YouTube thing, like, sub. But we will see you next time.